I've been spending time in the dojo, doing all the things that they won't show. No spotlights on me, no photos, becoming the king on the low level.
Well, hey guys, you're here with the Dad Dojo Podcast. It's a new format that we're going to be doing here on the Weighing In platform for the time being. We're really just kind of put a sample out right now, but I'm sitting alongside Rich Chou, okay, and my man Bobby Lashey over here. The three of us, one thing we all have in common, we moved to the Frisco, Texas area around the same time. We've been friends now for, I think, about 20 years, probably for all of us. Wow. And, and we all have kids. And so we decided to call this the Dad Dojo Podcast. And what we're going to do is we're really going to try to, the dojo meaning, Rich can probably give us a little bit more on this, is it's that immersive learning, right? We want to kind of immerse ourselves in how we are being fathers. And so talking about it, there's a platform, I think, for it. And this is one of those things that we feel pretty passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know I've got a ton of questions. I think parenting is exciting, stressful. It's all those things. And every time we get together, I feel like that's what we're focusing on, right? What are we up to with our kids? How are we handling these situations? And, Josh, you being in the podcasting game and getting your black belt recently.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Thought it would be a good idea to create this forum and this platform for us to talk, discuss, get better, and learn from others, and hopefully bring some some awareness and hopefully some answers and solutions to your viewers as well. So,
Bobby, we've had breakfast several times with all of us, and what's the first things that we start talking about? We start talking about our kids, start talking about the sports. The sports in Texas are wild, they're crazy, and that's kind of where we're at. I'm like, you're in deep. You're in deep. You're in deep. So
no, but I've always loved it. I think that I'm in a very fortunate situation because me and my kid's mom, we're really big on having our kids be active in sports. So we are doing everything. So I love to support it. I didn't get a lot of support when I was growing up. So that's kind of a little bit about me. I didn't get all that support. So I want to give more support to my kids. So I'm always at all the practices, all the competitions, everything like that. But I love it. That's what I live for.
Yeah. Pull that forward part. Man, you work on TV, man. Come on.
I know, but
see the top part right here? Push this a little bit. We got it. Don't worry. Look like you said I got my black belt.
Hey, we're learning here. This is a place of immersive learning right there.
I'm not the one doing this.
You just taught Bobby how to work his mic. See, we're off to a good start.
I got to give him the walkthrough.
It's a beautiful thing.
Look, there's a lot of things that comes with moving to Texas. I mean, you came from Guam, Hawaii, and then California like I did. I came, not from Guam and Hawaii. I came from California, just strictly. I was born and raised there, and then you're from the Colorado area, but you're originally from Missouri, correct?
No, well, my dad was in the Army, so we were all over the place. Lived in Germany, but I spent most of my time in Kansas.
But all of those things, what's different about Texas, especially this northern Texas area, in terms of what you guys have seen, in terms of whether it's sports, whether it's schools, what is it?
Man, it's completely different. And I never thought in my, ever in my life, I'd be living in North Texas, but here we are. But I'm happy. We're happy here. Yeah. The main motivation for us was family. Again, going back to what are we always talking about? What's really the most important thing in our lives? What's driving us? It's family. And so we came here to mix things up, to give the kids more. Mm-hmm. And that's been working out so far. So I look forward to getting into that more with you guys. But zero regrets.
What about you? What got you here?
I wanted to come to Texas for some time. But my dad lives here. My sister lives here. And then, of course, being in a job where you get paid as a 1099, you get a little tax break. So I wanted to be in Texas anyway.
You found Frisco area about 10 years ago, though, right?
I did.
The Plano kind of Frisco area 10, maybe 12 years ago.
I did. Because I wanted to move out where get close to my dad and my sister. And I have a lot of family, aunts and uncles that are living out here also. So I wanted to be out in Texas for some time. And when I did, my dad lives further south. So I was looking at where I should live, a cool area. And then all the agents that I was talking to, all the real estate agents were talking, look up north, look up Plano, look at Frisco, and anything north of there. So I went and took a look at Frisco probably about like 10 years ago, and I loved it. And at that point, like I said before, there was only one high school at this time. So it was growing, and I could see the growth, and I could see all the energy. It had good energy. So we checked to look. Me and my kids looked at some of the schools, loved the schools, and loved what the attention was, how their focus was on the different parts of their curriculum, but also sports, which is important.
It's funny. I came across this video because for those guys, obviously you guys don't know, is we've already filmed episode 1. This is episode 1. We've filmed episode 1. We were like, we got to make some changes. We got to make sure that we're doing it right for our first episode. Wanted to make sure we gave you guys a little more energy and, just worked out the kinks. But we had a good time. We spent a good amount of time together that day. But I saw a video. I think, you know how your phone is always listening to you. I saw a video and it said, after we left that day, and it came up 1992, South Lake, Texas, what it looked like in 1992 and how all the farmers were moving out. The cattle people were all moving out. It's just getting too much for me. I've got to get out of here. And now you look at South Lake and you're thinking to yourself, it's fully developed. It's actually got like the bigger trees and it, we all live in more newer communities kind of, and the trees are still baby trees, but South Lake is full grown. Got a lot of commercial, businesses all there. I mean, and it's grown a lot, but to see what it used to look like in 1992 and see what it looks like now, and thinking like that's kind of where we're at. The Frisco, we're a little bit past that, but we're in that Frisco, Prosper, Salina area.
I think Salina is still early on. I feel like Frisco's pretty developed. Going back to remember the baby trees?
Yes.
and what we were talking about there is every time I drive in to see, to come and see Josh, I always notice the trees were just planted. They're still babies. They're still baby trees. Whereas you go into our community that's been around for 30 years over in Frisco in the trails. We got big trees. Yeah. So it's just kind of one of those indicators of this is a new growing community. But to me, that's exciting. Like to be a part of something like that that's growing. Because to be honest, we moved 2 years ago to Frisco, and some could say, we came when it was cool already. A little bit later, it's fully developed. It's not like this sleepy little town that, man, if you go there, it's emerging. No, it's already, it's grown so much and there's so much going on. We kind of missed out on that big growth, or we caught it towards the tail end. But I feel like here in Salina, even just driving again this morning, I'm like, baby trees and all these, businesses that aren't quite open yet, right? You see all these signs like for lease for these commercial properties and spaces. So you're like, man, this is, what's this place going to look like in 10 years? And I think that's, it's exciting to be a part of something that is growing and not to be late or be kind of somewhere where things are kind of on the decline.
What was your reasoning though, like to get into Frisco? See, I look at Frisco and I was like, I'm not to say that it was like San Jose, but it's a lot more developed like San Jose was. And you guys have an HEB like a mile down the road. You guys have got everything. You got a YMCA like half mile down the road.
That's why we chose Frisco over Salina, because we did want something a little more developed.
Gotcha.
We did want, for the longest time, you guys were driving into Frisco to shop and eat anyway, right? So we didn't mind being there. That's what we needed at the time. But overall, the move for us was, again, heavily driven by and for the kids. So I'll give you an example. I'll bring up the topic of schools. In California, where we were living, Josh, in San Jose, Bobby, you've gone in and out of the Bay Area for camps and training and whatnot. The public schools aren't that great. And so you're put in a position where you want to put your kids in a private school more, right? And that's not cheap, obviously. So something that we looked at that was really convenient and we thought was great was the public schools here are excellent.
Yes.
And so just think about that. You're how much money are you saving not being put in a position where you have to send your kids to private school?
I can tell
because
you how
the public because the public schools are so good. Earlier, Bobby, you said tax breaks, right? So obviously that stands out. No state income tax here in Texas. Now for all you parents, dads in particular that are kind of contemplating moving or factoring in certain things, the public school system here is so good that you're not put in a position where you have to send your kids to private school and spend an extra $2-3 a month per child or so, something like that, right?
Yeah. I wish it was that much. It's a little more, but yeah, I went through a phase. Wow. I mean, did you go through private school at all?
No,
with your kids?
Not at all. My kids were, when we were in Colorado, we were in Parker, Colorado, and they have great schools there also. All through Colorado, they have great schools.
Yeah.
So over here, it's kind of like they're great schools. We kind of debate whether or not it was tougher in Colorado, or it might be just a different type of learning here, because my kids never have homework. Never. Never. They come home every day. I'm like, you guys have to do something. Yeah. So I have them read or do something, but very rarely do they have like a little project or something like that. So so they do a lot of work in school. So I don't know if that's better, different, or what.
So for me, the Stanford study, the Yale study showed that kids that take too much homework home during elementary school, like I've noticed even in California, they started implementing that because my kids went to private school and they're like, we don't give homework for elementary school. From kindergarten to fifth. The studies have shown that basically what happens is you start to burn your kids out at a young age. So when they get to middle school and high school, they really don't. They're just checked out. They're like, I don't want to do any more homework. I don't want to bring this home. And I have noticed a difference in like my son, because my daughter's still pretty young, but I've noticed a difference in my son. He comes home, there's a lot more just conversation. It's not like that depressing feeling of coming home and doing homework. Because I had him in a private school for his kindergarten, and he was coming home with 2-3 pages of homework from kindergarten. And it was like, I could just see the look on his face when I said, hey, we have to do this work. And he's like,
just buried, right?
Yeah,
like
you get home. And you're in kindergarten. Like at that age, you should be learning how to dig for worms.
Right.
I mean, that's really what your whole goal should be, trying to find bugs and snakes in the garden. I mean, that's really kind of at that age. So are we putting too much on the kids? And I think that was that's been figured out that we are at a young age. Now, I do think that there needs to be some accountability at that age in terms of what they're learning and how much they're learning at school, because I've noticed a lot, even here in Texas, there's a lot of parents that are homeschooling their kids.
Yeah.
And homeschooling their kids is because, look, I really have a program I could put my kids down in front of an iPad, or a computer, and they'll do 40 minutes worth of work with 5 or 6 people on one class, like a Zoom, how they were doing.
Sure.
The problem that happened, people are like, oh, they criticize like you just did. You went,
No, I didn't say that for that reason. I said it for a completely different reason.
What was it? What was the reason?
Well, the reason I was saying is it's crazy how the parallels, sports and schooling, it's the same thing. The same conversation that we had about sports is the same thing we're having with schooling, because do you do extra? And you're talking about burning kids out. It seems like it runs parallel. It's the same kind of thing, which is right. We don't know. I think both of them could be right in certain. Because with my kids,
so clarify, because you're talking about like we're giving kids schoolwork and then we're giving them homework that could burn them out. But then yet we're having them do their soccer games and their soccer practices, and yet we pay extra for more practices on the side to make them better.
Okay.
That's going to be a burnout also.
Well, let's look at the school thing. It just depends on what that extra work is. If you're talking about homework where they got like 2 pages worth of stuff, busy work that kids know is busy work, and they're like, damn, I just got to get this done. We just did this, as opposed to recapping, because anything that you learn, if you have to teach back, then you learn better. You understand it. You retain the knowledge. So in the evening, if they took it where it wasn't like homework and it was just like, let's recap and explain to your parents what you did in a form of some kind of homework, then it's not bad. That's the same thing that we were talking about in sports. If you force your kid to go do something, then it turns out to be bad. I just posted something on Instagram, and I posted me and my son, and the quote that I put, or what I was talking about, because my assistant was writing stuff down as I was speaking. And she said, and I said, if you have fun with your kids, then you teach them that exercise is a form of fun, not a form of punishment. In high school, you're in trouble, do 25 push-ups. You're in trouble, take a lap. In sports, across the board, we're doing push-ups. It's a form of punishment. So you get out of it later and you look at it that way. But if you do it as a form of, hey, you know what? I have an opportunity to spend time with my parents, and we're going to all read a book, and we're going to give a little narrative of that book. Now look what we're doing. We're strengthening up families, because I do that with my kids sometimes. We find a book and then we say, all right, we're going to read it. And they're like, all right, we're going to sit here for 20 minutes and act like I'm reading, maybe read some of it. But I'm like, no, afterwards, we're going to kind of like, you just tell what it's about. You stand. So it's like changing, and we make it fun. We do a lot of monologues, because that's the same way. So we take the books and make it into a monologue. So it's all kinds of different ways of making something that seems like it could be a chore, something that's fun.
Well, you might be mad, well, then, because you just brought that up. But for my son, when he leaves the light on, 10 push-ups.
Yeah,
He's never
that's
gonna do
punishment.
push-ups
That's
again.
punishment. That's punishment,
You can't
man.
do it. I don't do that with my
But
kids.
see, my kid likes to do push-up. He likes to be doing sit-up. He runs around the house. He's only 9. Runs around the house, flexing his abs.
But look what you're doing. You're changing his thought pattern.
No, his thought pattern is, if I do more push-ups, I'll have a bigger chest.
Right.
If I do more sit-ups, I'm gonna have more abs.
I get you.
That's the thought pattern. Like, because look, if you tell him, like, if you leave the lights on, and I'm constantly riding you on it, then it's like ugh. It's that negative. It's almost like you're yelling at them all the time.
Yeah.
Now I don't have to yell at them. I said, you know what? I said, go turn your light off. 10 push-ups. 10 sit-ups, 10 burpees, whatever it is. It's funny because now I got my daughter doing it, and she's 5, and I think it's great.
But I still think, in a sense, you're putting a negative spin on it. And when we do it all the time, parents do it, teachers do it, coaches do it. You're changing that thought, because like right now it's fun, but afterwards you're making it. You're putting a negative onto what we wanted to be a positive, because you're putting push-ups. You're like, I love doing push-ups, but now if you're telling them you have to do it, because this is a form of punishment, you got in trouble, so you're doing push-ups. So it's changing the mind of the kids moving forward.
Yeah,
I make my kids pay.
I think both of you present valid points. I would just like to add something that that I think is relevant and could help contribute and help us find maybe some more common ground. But I think what we said earlier before we started, Josh, gamification. Remember, we're talking about it for adults.
Yes.
I think it applies for kids as well. So perhaps if you gamify certain things, and you're again, but Bobby, it's by doing so, I think gamifying something takes away that element of punishment.
Right.
So we're playing this game, and you have to, and we're introducing this part of the game, the push-ups, but we're not making it like punish. You know what I mean? There's that makes sense. So you're kind of blending all these things and making it a game, because kids like games, adults like games, we all like games. We all like to play something and compete and challenge ourselves. So I think if you disguise it in a way where you're not making, like you said, negative, I totally get that point, but you're doing something challenging and beneficial. Look, doing push-ups is still better than spanking your kid, right?
yeah.
So it's like, oh, you didn't turn the light off again, Remember what we said? I get the belt out. To me, push-ups is definitely better than that, because he's going to get more. But just introducing that, because we've been developing that at home with chores and different things. It's like, oh, chores are they view it as punishment. No one likes doing chores. Right. Hey, go throw out the trash. My daughter, her job, hey, go feed the dog every morning and evening, and they don't enjoy it. But my wife started to gamify the whole process.
Give me
the
an
whole
example,
system.
like how so?
Okay, so we have a board up on the fridge with all your chores, and each child that it's assigned to. I have 2 kids, 1 boy and 1 girl, a 9-year-old boy, 6-year-old girl. And when they do their chores, they go and cross it off. And at the end of the week, you look at their points, what they've accumulated. And then from there, my wife will, and this is all her, it's all her idea. And the more I thought about it and I saw it in play, it was kind of brilliant. So, okay, now we're gamifying this thing. They're more incentivized to do their chores because it's disguised as a game. Whereas before they dreaded it. And at times they still do, depending what time and how they're feeling, just like us, right? Just like us as adults. But I noticed that, like Bobby, like you were saying, when you disguise it and it's not a form of punishment anymore, and it's fun and a game, like what Kellen enjoys doing, the push-ups, combining those 2 concepts has made it a lot easier in our house to get stuff done. Yeah,
we could start it off as like, here's your chores, and each chore that you do, you can start off with a number. Let's say you have to do 250 push-ups or 250 burpees, and every time you do a chore, it takes 10 away. or it takes 50. I mean, you can go from there.
Yeah.
And then, and whittle the number down. Look, I'm more into keeping the kids active. Like now that we're in Texas, now that we're in a community where I feel safe. Now, don't get me wrong, I've been very reluctant to let my son just go ride his bike out freely wherever he wants by himself or with his friends even. But I'm going to get there. I think we're working our way. It's taking some time. But also that'll change, I think, with the age as they get a little bit older. Being 9 is a little bit, you still feel like, anyone could just snatch. But I love just being able to have the availability for him to just we can go down to the basketball courts and play, go down to the tennis courts and play. Giving them the freedom to be active to me is very important, but encouraging them to work out. So a lot of the gaming that we do for him, if I was to say I was to put him in a game, I take him to the track. We do sprints on Saturdays, if he doesn't have soccer games. And when I do that, it's all about just timing and racing yourself.
Yeah.
And of course he wants to see if he can get as close to me as possible, and so we have these and we'll sprint against each other. I'll give him, it started off as a 10 to 15 yard sprint somewhere in there. And then now it's all the way down to a 5 yard, like head start, 5 yards. And then he goes and I go and, we race on that.
Oh, that's great.
Compete against each other.
That's fantastic. Just some dads aren't in a position to be sprinting with their kids, man. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
no knock on. I'm just saying.
But it's cool.
I've heard you're pretty fast, Bobby.
I'm really fast.
Trevor told me he could wrestle with you at Missouri Valley. He's like, bro,
really
this guy is fast.
Oh, really? See, you know what? I like what you said with that, because I was just saying that this morning. I was telling somebody that this morning because it was something cool that I used to love with my son when he was very little. With the push-up stuff, we would always do push-ups.
You just posted that video the other day. What's your Instagram handle?
It's just Bobby Lashey, my name.
Got it.
Yeah. So with my son, whenever I used to take him to school, it's something that we love doing together. As soon as we get out, we stand by the car, and I was like, all right, ready, go. And we would park a little bit further away just so that we have that little running. But like you said, some parents may not be able to do it, but when they're young, I was walking, but I would always kind of like walk a little bit faster than him. So we go. and then when he would pick up the pace and he would get older, then I would have to trot with him. And then it started taking running. So what we're talking about right now with punishment and whatever as a reward, at what age can you stop doing that? Because like right now, my kids are 15 and 12. So for me saying, all right, we're going to win a contest, sometimes they're not so up for the contest, but is it bad to incentivize them with
money?
That's because I'm plagued with that sometimes, but at the same token, if we're trying to teach our kids lessons, the harder you work, the more you put into it, there is a reward, a monetary reward in our society. And things that you do bad, there's a monetary penalty. If you keep leaving the lights on, my bill goes up. I'm taking that out of your green light, because we have green light or whatever form of allowance you give your kids. If I catch it on, that's $1 each time. As young kids, they may not understand it. But my son, older, my daughter, I walked upstairs, and if I see their room dirty, I go call the cleaners. And the cleaners come. I'm not paying for it. My room's clean. You're paying for it. And the first time I did that, they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, just took it right out of there. Because Greenlight is a program that we have with our kids. They get a little card. I can put money into it. It's a cool program.
All right, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. So
it's like an app?
It's an app.
Okay.
It's an app, and each one of them have a card, and they can have their picture on it. So it's an actual credit card, debit card that they can use for whatever they want.
At a grocery store?
Anywhere. It's a cool deal. I'll show it to you. And anytime when I want to, I can put money on it. All I have to do is pull my phone up, boom, click it on them. They have all theirs. And what's cool about it, and I won't give a big plug for these guys until we get them as a sponsor. But they have a deal where they can actually take some of their money and invest it into different things.
Got it. Yeah.
And they can watch it grow, and it's real money. Because it's attached to the parent.
Got it.
But anyway, I use that often because, I mean, sometimes when I go through push-ups with Miles and my son, he's like, all right, I'll knock him out. He doesn't get anything out of it, pro or con. He's like, all right, push-ups, I do them. I love them, whatever. But if I say, hey, I'm going to take money off of your card, then they're like, turning lights off, cleaning the room and everything like that. And then lately I told him, you know what, if I'd like to put you guys on salary. And at that point, boy, dishes are done, house is cleaned, and everything
Bobby's
like
the commissioner over there, finding penalties.
Is it? I don't know if it's bad. If it's bad, I don't know. But
look, I think maybe because you and I have kids that are the same age, basically the same age. So your daughter's a little bit older than my daughter. Both our kids are the same age, they're a couple weeks apart. I think at that age, it's maybe good for incentivizing, like, hey, if you do things that go above and beyond, you get a reward. Like, you know, not just like a consistent daily basis. No, this is to me, I've always felt like doing your chores is to upkeep your portion of it, to take the responsibility off of your mother and your father. Like, we provide for you, you provide for us. Making your bed is not that hard. Okay. And, you know, and throwing your dirty clothes in the dirty clothes is not that hard. Take them off. I don't want to see them in the hallway.
Sure.
You know, I don't want your dirty underwear in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Like, these are just common sense things. I'm not looking to reward you for that. I'm looking at an attaboy. Good job. Thank you. Yeah. You're helping me out. But I think at your age, it's your kids' age, you know, 12 and 15.
Yep.
Yeah, because everything that they're starting to see it now with their friends. They need money to go to the pup place. They need money to go to, you know, to the surf park or whatever it is. You know, I don't know, whatever it is. I mean, I don't know where you're at on that though, at the ages that our kids are at.
We're still trying to figure it out. You know, we're testing things out. It's this. I've always looked at parenting as it's the craziest social experiment, right? You're in charge of raising little humans, and we're very much in this stage of trying to figure it out, because I agree. Like, okay, here's what we do know. Going back to gamification, we know people like to play games and respond well to that. What you just brought up, Bobby, people also respond to incentives. We know that for a fact. For us, I think the balance now is, to touch on what you said, is we don't want to just reward them for things they should be doing automatically, because then what happens is there's this expectation on it. For example, you know, just doing something you should already be doing. Why should I reward you, right? Like, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to help around the home. But if you go above and beyond, or certain situations, I'll give you an example of the last time I used a reward and an incentive. We were flying back from spring break. We had to leave, and I had the kids. Just the way the schedule worked out, the two kids were traveling with me, and we had to leave at a really, really early hour. Like, I felt bad that this is just how the itinerary and the schedule played out, but we had to get up like at 3 a.m. And that's brutal, not only for an adult, but can you imagine waking young kids up? It's just not good, right? No. Yeah. So at that point, I'm like, all right, if you guys work with me, travel well, you know, we're going to go and do this, this, and this. So I had this whole day set up. If they were, for lack of a better word, cooperative and really easy that morning, which they have every reason to be difficult, right? Who the hell wants to get woken up at that hour, especially a kid, and go to the airport and then start a long day of travel? But they responded well. And then as soon as we landed, we got settled, and then what they wanted was their favorite pizza spot and frozen yogurt after.
Hey.
Yeah.
So they earned it. They deserved it. And I felt like that was something appropriate to reward them with. It wasn't like, hey, leave your sister alone. Don't pick on her, because you shouldn't be doing that anyway. So why should I reward you if you don't? Or, hey, go do something you're supposed to do every day to help. But if you go above and beyond, and in my opinion, in that moment they did, so they got rewarded. So I think it's picking and choosing when to apply those rewards and those incentives, because we know they work, but perhaps they could also create some negative behavior or expectations of, like, the next time you ask them to do something, they'll be like, no, Dad, what are you going to give me if I do that? Up. And then that's gonna piss you off and start something, you know, start taking you down a path that you might not want to go down.
Yeah, at a young age, my grandfather was like, for every A you got in school, in middle school, high school, you know, it was $100. You know, and so there's incentive there. But then I also, now as I've gotten older, I'm like, you have no responsibility. Your responsibility is to go to school, and that's it.
Right.
Like I saw like a short little thing on with Habib. Habib's like, I always used to go to my dad and ask him, like, when I was 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, and say, you know, I always feel bad, but I would like money. He's like, what do you need money for? Like, your food is paid for, your house is paid for, you have your family. That's it. What else do you need? I give you, you have your shoes, you have your wrestling shoes, you have your knee pads, you have what you need. You don't need money for anything. You have.
Oh, I can think of things that they need.
Yeah.
My son would be like, I need Pokemon cards.
It's not needs.
It's
not,
want.
They don't need the money for
it's
needs.
Want versus
they
need.
need it for wants.
Yes.
Yeah.
And kids deserve wants. Everybody wants it. Everybody has.
They do. But then where do we cap that off though? Like where do you limit that? Like, so we don't do video games in the house. We do no electronics. On the weekends, they're allowed to watch like probably up to about an hour of iPad or whatever, phone, whatever it is. But they don't have cell phones. I'm on the verge right now of getting a watch so my son can go ride his bikes throughout the neighborhood with his friends, and I know can get a hold of them. But outside of that, like we're not into electronics. We don't do TV. Not even myself. I don't do TV in the house during the week. So there's no TV in the house during the week. The only time we'll flip that TV on is when the Kansas City Chiefs are playing on a Monday night or a Thursday night. That's the one. We're a family of Chiefs fans, except for my wife, and so yeah, that's it.
You know what? I think we're, as parents, we're teaching life lessons, and we're teaching life lessons that how we are.
Yeah.
Because incentivizing, some people like the wants. I'm a little looser than that. And of course, we're talking about different ages also.
That's where I'm at with you. I'm kind of leaning more towards you. I agree with you on the age thing because like 12 and 15.
Yeah, and I have my oldest daughter's 19, but she's in college. But
a little extra cash. I mean, like if they want to go hang out with their friends at the mall, like you want them to make sure they have some money with them. Like they can buy lunch. They can they can do whatever. If there was a book, I'm just saying, if there's an outfit they want to buy, they have a little bit of cash for them to go ahead and buy something that they really like.
Sure.
That's fair.
And socially, it's different also because as little kids, you don't need to know everything going on. For my kids, it's almost like adults. There's certain things going on in the world that you get through social media or you see on TV that everybody else is talking about. And if you're not a part of it, it's kind of a little bit off. And I hate it sometimes because like my daughters, they're so clicky, like they all had to buy these Stanley cups, $40 cups. Everyone needed it. And I was like, what?
Yeah. We should enjoy this time when the kids are young and they're not. My son hasn't asked me for Jordans yet, but or whatever it is that is cool at the time. And I mean, it's coming. Teenage years, right?
And you have to. I mean,
do you have to though? Bobby, would you grow up? Did you have everything you wanted when you were a kid?
I had nothing.
I mean, so what makes you say you have to? That's my thing.
Because it sucked.
Yeah, but look at what you've done.
It sucked. There was a lot of times when I was growing up, it sucked. Like I almost wore the same wrestling shoes almost all the way through. Mm-hmm. And at the end, I started taping them up, and I would put like little sayings on them, and that was our joke because I didn't have it. I didn't have the money. Wants, I didn't have wants. Wants, I had to get needs first before wants because in the situation that I was at. So that's where it's kind of challenging for me. Like I said before about my kids, like I'm at everything that my kids do because my parents weren't for me. I'm the same way. So now I'm looking at my kids where it's like, I want you to be hungry, but I don't want you to starve. I want you to have fun. I want you to have food. Like I enjoy like almost spoiling my kids, and I know it sucks at times, but man, I'm like, you know what, Miles? I'm gonna go get you those $500 Jordans just because you're gonna have those. I didn't have them. I was like, you're gonna have them. And I did look at people envious, growing up. I was like, man, I wish I would have had that. I wish I would have had that. And I could kind of see that a little bit. I didn't need everything, and I do make my kids work. So I don't just spoil them out of nothing because they know a lot of times Dad's not afraid to say no. I tell them no for a lot of things. They ask me no. I don't even ask for explanation. I don't want to discuss it. When I say no, that's it.
Yeah, but there's that old saying, my great-grandfather walked, my grandfather rode the bus, my dad drove a Cadillac, now I'm back to walking. It's something like that. It goes something like that. But it's that
you're getting softer with each generation and more spoiled. But
and then you end up back.
And again, that's the balance, right? Yeah. Is of course you want to spoil your kids, but you also want them to learn hard work and not be soft and understand that it's a privilege to live the life that they're being given. But that's why we work so hard, right? Is to be able to give them everything they want, give them experiences, give them things that you didn't have. So yeah, that's, to me, that's something that's a constant challenge. I mean, that's parenthood, right? That's being a dad. Every situation's different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's a one size fits all that you apply in every situation, and that's going to be the answer. I think it's different every time. When to establish the boundaries, when to give the reward, when to not give the right. That's what makes this thing so tricky, and those are the things every day, I'm sure, that I go through. Those challenges, those moments of like, all right, what do you want to do here? You're like, oh shoot. Yeah. I don't know. Like, we're really going to have to think about this and figure out the best way to approach this solution. And I think it's also age dependent. Mm-hmm. Are they, how old they are. And that's why this thing's so tricky for me, and this thing being parenting, right? There's no one size fits all. There's no, how to do a double leg, right? Like how to teach that, how to execute it. How to teach an arm bar, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this is the way. But for parenting, that's not always the case.
No, it's not.
There is no the way. It's several factors into making that decision at that time that is best for that child.
Well, it's funny because like you were saying, like, oh, I like to spoil my kids. Well, like for me with the two kids, when my daughter was born, like her second birthday kind of is when she started with the Christmas kind of feel of it all. But we bought them all these gifts, and literally like Christmas morning, they didn't wake up till 10. Then they came down, they're like, what's for breakfast? Didn't care about presents. And I'm like, hey guys. And they're like, oh, we'll do it. It literally was like a nonchalant thing. Like, oh, we'll open one later. I was like, what's going on? And so after that, then even the following year, we try to do it again, and I was like, okay, we got all this. And it's funny, even from this Christmas, just a couple months ago, we still have a couple gifts that are out there still not opened. That's when you start wondering how much is giving them, like, what are we really giving them? Giving them things that they need or do they want? Or are we just trying to shower them to make ourselves feel better? Are you giving them things to make yourself feel better because of the things that we didn't have at a young age?
Yes, partly, but
at least, but that's not wrong. But there's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer.
But at the same, with my son, my daughter, I think I'm going back to what you said before. I almost start taking away because they know, and I tell them, if you can tell me why you need it, I'll get it for you. If you can explain, because I understand there are wants, but then there are just stupid purchases also. And I tell my kids with the Nikes, the Jordans, I was like, all right, I'll get you Christmas, your birthday. Mm-hmm. I'll get you those. But just running around, you can get whatever, but I'm going to keep you trendy, keep you, socially okay.
Yeah.
But as far as like spoiling them, when I say spoil them, I'm not buying them a whole bunch of just ridiculous stuff, but I'll give them almost anything, but I'll start taking stuff away. If you're not doing this, like my kids, they all have the newest iPhone, whatever. My daughter broke hers 6 months ago. She can't use the camera on it. That's your fault. If you want to get it back, then we can find ways to kind of earn that back, and you can make money to get it back. But I'm not gonna let you take things for granted. I'm not gonna buy you expensive things or buy you good things or buy you cool things, and then you don't take care of it. If you break it, it's gone. And then you're gonna learn that lesson, and you're gonna learn to respect it. But another thing I do is I have good conversations with my kids, and I tell them, and I told my son this because I ran into a little incident where I found something on my son's phone of him and his kids acting like idiots, and they were talking like idiots also. So the one thing I told my son, I was like, listen, I support you with everything that you do. You do stupid things, you're going to lose my support. And that's I think that's the biggest thing for my son. My son loves it when I'm at different things. And when I say that, like, I'm not going to come to your game because you did this. No, I'm going to stop supporting everything that you do if you start making bad mistakes. And it's really easy to make good mistakes. And we have good conversations. So he knows if I'm doing the right things and I'm moving forward and I'm not doing the bad things, and I don't have to be number one at everything. Just as I'm doing, right, and I'm doing everything, and right and wrong, I'm going the right direction. Dad will take care of me, and we'll have a good time. And that's how I want my kids to think. I want them to think, you know what? my dad put me at a place that I can build from, because I'm teaching my kids everything that I'm doing in order to be successful, because that's what we ultimately want to do, keep that success going in our family. So I teach them success, and I'm like, it's okay now. It took me a long time to get to this point, but it's okay to enjoy the fruits of our labor. So I tell them, if you work harder, then you can get more. And it's not a thing. It's like, because like we like to travel, we can do different things. If you travel, you can go further as opposed to just down the street as a vacation. Maybe you can go overseas. You can do that because I worked hard. So there's a reward to the hard work that you do. And right now they can't do anything bad because they're kids. So anything that they're in, it's always a positive. But once they start doing negatives, then we start taking some of those away from them. And that's kind of how I like it. Like we said, there's no real manual for being a parent. We just learn from what we got brought up with. Like I said, my parents weren't there on all my stuff, so I'm like overdoing it on the other end, and I didn't have a lot. And I'm giving my kids more when they grow up. I want them to have like more of an easy lifestyle. I even told my kids, I was like, hey, look, I'm gonna give you a cheat sheet for things. What's the cheat sheet? Red line, personal coaches, all these different clubs. That's a cheat sheet. I didn't have that when I was growing up. I had to like just make it happen. We learned how to play baseball by just throwing the ball. Yeah. Everybody has different stands. They're holding the bat any different way, but
it was a broomstick.
Yeah, right. But they can knock it out of the park with it.
Yeah.
And that's what we did as kids. Basketball is like, now they're teaching kids how to do it. My daughter has this like dribble up app where they can sit there and teach you how to do all this stuff. I was like, I learned that by just found
that's
a way.
brilliant though, the cheat sheet. I really like that. That's brilliant, because you're right. They have there's so many things that and opportunities and resources that they have now, whether it's academic or athletics, that we definitely didn't have.
Right.
Team training, privates, all kinds of things to make them better, starting at such a young age.
Yeah.
That's increased tenfold though since moving to Texas, because the sports here are just insane. You can find individual training with any coach almost anywhere, and the pricing is so reasonable. It makes you feel like
I'd be foolish
cheat. Have to cheat. Have to. I mean, gotta be honest. Like, Kellen can do a small group training, my son, for lacrosse of like just 3 to 5 people, and it's like $40. You get an hour and a half. I'm like, and that's with his coach, his real coach. So it's like he's not taking advice from someone else. He's taking advice from the coach that already is going to take him to the next level. So there's that. And then his soccer coach. We go to a little place down the street. It's not his real coach. It's not his coach of his team, but this little place down the road. He breaks it down so well for them, and it's dirt cheap. It's like it ends up being like $35 for a full hour of another small group training, and it works out perfectly. They work on touches to the ball. Like literally, it was like you had to go out there and want to do it your own when you were a kid. So
and if you're not, all that being said, especially in this community, guys, let's be real. We live in a upper middle class, really. Really nice, clean, safe community. And if you're not doing all these things, it's hard, right? There's this keeping up and keeping up. If you're not in red line and doing privates, I learned that quickly around here, and it's challenging. And it also makes me think about people that don't have the ability to take advantage of all that. Right. So yes, there's so much that's out there for the kids these days, and it's great to access it. But, that's something else I'm torn with too, is like, do they need all of it? And then I see that everyone else is doing it.
Yes.
So you kind of got to keep up, right? The answer is yes. But what about those that can't take advantage of it, that don't have the resources, that can't do it? They're going to find a way, right? Like you said, because back in the day, people always found a way. So to me, that's really, really fascinating is these two paths because I think what we're getting into now is, okay, I've got some money to spend on these kids and I want to spend it on them, and I'm going to give them everything that I can to make them better, smarter, just better humans, better athletes. And that's a whole nother like world that I'm just completely immersed and fascinated with everything about it, right? Like from diet to like, you guys know what I'm talking about. You get obsessed with, from what I feed my kid to what I have them getting, what sports I have them get involved with, to every little thing that we're giving them and exposing them to. kind of all falls under this category of giving them the best.
Yeah. Well, we had to learn also, because like you said, we're just giving them what we learned. When I was in college, I was just telling my kids this the other day. When I was in college, I was wrestling off of Taco Bell. In the evening, I would go get Taco Bell. Like during lunch, I had no knowledge of nutrition at all.
69-cent bean burritos, 89-cent chicken burritos.
I would kill them.
Yeah,
I was a rich man. I get 3 of those.
Yeah.
And then from there, you know, I was in college and I did everything that I did when I was in college. I won nationals 3 times. It was a smaller school, but I was on fire. I was like off of eating Taco Bell. When I went to Olympic Training Center, things changed. I had a real strength and conditioning coach. It was like, man, I felt like I just got huge. I went from 187 to 211 when I moved to Olympic Training Center. I was dropping down to 187. And then when I was at the Olympic Training Center, why? Because we had great food there. We had a nutritionist. We had people that told us. So that's like a cheat sheet. It was a cheat sheet for me. I was like a whole different person. I was like, man, if I would have had this when I was in high school,
proper nutrition, college, and how food can help you.
Because I was eating in high school. I was eating Little Debbie's and cereal. Man, if I had a nutritionist, I don't know what I could have done. I was tiny when I got to high school. I was 110 pounds my freshman year. And I was probably malnourished. I didn't know that. I was just out in the street playing ball, football, whatever it was.
I was 12 pounds heavier than me.
And then I started making these little jumps because of just puberty and just growing. But when I went to Olympic Training Center, I filled in. I was always the thin kid. I was always like kind of shredded, whatever. But when I went to Olympic Training Center, I filled in. I was like, man, I'm like strong now. It was like a whole different ball game. So like you said, I want to give that to my son.
And do your kids eat Taco Bell?
My kids? No, man.
See,
my kids got a ridiculous.
Right?
My son has a ridiculous palate, and it's an expensive palate. I can't even cook for this joker anymore. But my son's really good. He has a cooking channel on TikTok. Oh, nice. He makes steaks like Miles, can you cook dinner? Man, he whips it up. It is amazing. But he has a different kind of palate. But I make sure to. I was like, man, listen, whatever you need to get better, you tell me. And I told them, we sit down, whatever you guys need to get better, I'm gonna get it for you.
Yeah.
But
and that's
when.
Yeah. And that's spoiling them in a very positive way with nutrition, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Like, hey, you're gonna eat good. You're not gonna eat what I ate growing up because I know better, and we have the ability to eat better.
Sure.
Right. Because again, it goes back to, what if there's some people that's all they, I always think about that and try to balance it out. I used to get into these debates with my wife about groceries. Still do, right? Like, hey, do we really need to buy this? Like, it's double the price of, the organic versus the non-organic and all these things. And at the end of the day, we settled on, after a bunch of research, like, there's some things I don't think twice about spoiling them with food and nutrition, right? That's extremely important.
But that's what the big difference is between when we grew up. We're like, oh, I grew up on this, I grew up on that. But guess what? It wasn't as processed as it is now. It wasn't shot up with as much steroids as it is now. It's not the same type of food we were eating. The water coming out of the hose that we used to drink out of isn't the same. Like, we're not drinking the tap water these days. We have a filter on our, and it's not because we're better off, that's for sure. So like, that's what the difference is, I believe, right now, is that we're watching what our kids take in. I don't look at it as because I want you to eat healthy. I look at like all the other crap that's in this food that they're putting in it. I'm doing it because, look, this organic chicken is better for you. This free range eggs are better for you. These are going to be better for you and your life expectancy. That's why I do it. Sure, they're athletes and they compete at, my son competes at a high level on certain things, but it's like making sure that he has the right nutrition. Yes, that's there. But also too, making sure that he's not taking in all these antibiotics and all this other crap they're putting in our food.
Right. I know, but at the same token, and I agree with that. I like that a lot, but there were certain things, like when my mom was giving us bologna and government cheese, she wasn't saying this is healthy for the body.
No, I get you. Right? I get you, man. Remember, you get that big
saw through that cheese.
Yeah, you get that big block. That's true. And it tastes like chalk. It was like chalk. It wouldn't melt. It would take forever to melt. You want to do a grilled cheese sandwich and be there? The bread would be burnt.
Oh boy.
So we can all agree we're at least spoiling our kids with their nutrition and health and all the positive things we feel are there, like in athletics, right? Like I know all three of us are athletes. We come from the world of professional sports, and I think consistently those three things are very important to us, right? Like food, exercise, health and wellness, and athletic competition, right? Let's call it.
I guess like I said, we had filmed a show before and we finished off on that first show, but I wanted to touch on this. I know it could take the whole time of one show, but what they do in Texas, and it's a age thing. Like, not only are we getting our kids to eat healthy at a young age, we're giving them, a couple extra lessons, maybe, a month to get them maybe to that level that they need to be, or maybe a step above the level. But we've noticed in Texas that my son's got a couple kids on his lacrosse team. They're 11, about to be 12. I think one is 12 and my son's 9. Like, how have you seen any of that with your kids' sports, and have you seen any of that with your kids' sport?
100%. Especially at the high school level. You'll see some of them. You'll see 19 and 20-year-old kids in high school.
That's a high school sport, though. I'm talking about in your club stuff. Any club stuff? Any
the club stuff.
Travel ball stuff?
We don't. No.
Got it.
I don't. It's only through schooling is where I saw the big difference. Because with boys, it's like my son was born in July, so he could either graduate when he's 17 or 18. I 100% prefer him to graduate when he's 18 than 17. Because I graduated when I was 17, and that's why I was still growing. I was still a kid. Mm-hmm. Then going into high school at 14 years old, wrestling against guys that were 18 years old, 19 years old, it's a huge difference. So in the clubs, my kids aren't doing club anymore, so I wouldn't really know on that.
Gotcha. And then you're with baseball and with other stuff.
Yeah, everything we've gotten involved with so far over these last 2 years, as far as the big difference from where we were, is that the question, Josh?
Yeah.
It's everything since we got here, from school to sports we've been put in a position, fortunately, where we've leveled up. Like the sports programs, all we have is club now, right? We're not competing with school.
Do you notice
yet,
an age thing there?
Age, yeah. To address that, yeah. And that got me thinking about, in the past, I didn't quite understand, or I was kind of against when kids get held back. Like there's some parents that are holding their kids back purely for sports, not even because of athletic development. But I get it.
Yes.
My son's born in late August, so born kind of late, right? Yeah. And just like I was. So when I graduated high school, like you said, Bob, I was 17.
Yes.
And like what you said earlier, you would prefer to be 18. Same. Yeah. And I understand. For a while, I thought, oh, well, that's absurd. Why would you hold someone back unless they really needed it academically? But yeah, I get it now with sports. And the conversations I've had with other dads on the field and at practice, and then seeing it play out, especially in wrestling too, in a sport like that where size and you mentioned that earlier, like
just man strength, that little extra year it's a big deal.
And there's been studies that show how the kids that get held back, they excel. Their chances of making it in whatever sport are significantly greater because they're more mature and they're bigger and stronger. It does matter, right?
Well, I look at it in a couple different ways. Is academically, what is the rush to get your kid out of high school? There is no rush. No. And I've never met a parent ever that held their kid back that regretted it. I have never met one. They've all said, I think it's the best thing. We've noticed that they now are the leader of their class, or one of the leaders of their class, versus the one being the youngest and the one being kind of pushed around, or not really being able to speak up because they don't feel as confident. Also on whether it's a soccer field, soccer I think is more like probably baseball, I'm not sure, but they go by your year of birth, where lacrosse goes by your year of graduation. So that's what holding back is. So for lacrosse, and they're trying to make a change to that because it is a contact sport, but their year of graduation. So my son is a 32, where a lot of these 33, I think of 33, and a lot of the kids that are 32s, they're all like his age. because all the parents have held them back. And like I said, he's got some kids on his team. They've been held back 1, maybe even 2 years, because some of them are turning 12, and he's just turned 9, or he'll be turning 10 this year. So, and you can just see
They're looking to win.
the size of it. Like, you got a bunch of, like, and that's the other thing. You got a bunch of dads running around here that look like Bobby. Like, they're all tall. They're all, and so their kids are all tall. They're all, you know. So,
Oh, yeah.
Like, you put Rich. Rich is, what are you, 6'3"?
Yeah.
And then you put next to my son, and you can see they're like a head difference, because Rich's son is tall.
Your son's faster, though. I gotta admit.
But which is weird.
I've seen it out at Red Line. He is faster.
But it's just, you know. So where do you draw the line? And I think it does make a difference in a combative sport, whether it's wrestling, whether it's football, like sports that have a lot of contact. Lacrosse, those are 3 sports. There's a lot of contact.
But you know what? It is a difference between combat sports and regulars, but it's almost the same, because in track, my son ran track, and my son's on varsity in track. When he was up there on the line, when they took off and ran, I'll show you the video. Miles is like a whole foot shorter than everyone else. Like he's running, coming around. It looks like an elementary kid because he's running varsity. So I'm looking at the other guy. I was like, he's just a bigger person. He's just like just significantly bigger than my son. So it's hard, because then if you go to that sense, then my son's on a freshman on varsity. Does he just wait until he's a senior, until he develops, or does he just say jump in there and do it? That's where it's kind of hard, because if you're 15 going into high school, it doesn't matter, because if those guys are 19, they're 19. It's still, it is what it is.
But 15, not all of them are being held. Not all of them are staying back. That's 1. 2,
Right.
But 15-year-old, I'm talking more 15 years old as a freshman. That's older. That's more developed.
Yes.
Definitely. And I know he's going against kids that are 19. I understand that. But he's now starting to level that field. I don't even think I went through puberty until like 13, like right into high school.
Yeah, 14.
Yeah, somewhere in there. And so definitely was not developed yet, and especially not in my sport.
Yeah, I think before you get to high school, it's more of a difference, because once you get to high school, it doesn't really matter. The age thing is kind of thrown out, because you're not only going with the freshmen. Some people are only doing freshmen, sophomores. At that point, you're JV or your varsity. So age is, well, unless you're a kid that's 20 years old, still in high school, or 19 years or so.
I disagree a little bit, only based on the if you're talking about for track, then yes, I would say that, but not for football, not for other sports where you actually have the maturity of understanding the game is not there. Track is very like, hey, this is how we do it. Now, also too, at a young age, if you're doing triple jump, long jump, there's a lot more technique in that, and there's a ton of technique in running the 100 and the 200 and the and the 400. But the maturity to understand those, you can grasp and wrap your head around that as a younger kid. But as they mature 1 extra year, it gives them a lot more knowledge of understanding. Because I'm going through that right now with my son in soccer. Understanding where you need to be, your position. You cannot cheat over too much. Understanding that when he says switch the field, switch the ball to the other field. Why? You don't need to always go forward. Sometimes you can go back. Just getting them to wrap their heads around that 1 extra year of maturity, mentally and also just physically, makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I think that so that does go back to when they're younger, because when they're younger, that's when you start having those differences. Because like I said, once you get into high school, everybody's age is out the window, unless you only do freshmen. Like if you play freshman football, you only freshman. But if you're trying to level up and be on that junior varsity or varsity team, then at that point we just have to. Yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, definitely when they were younger. And when I was in Colorado, it was still the same thing. A lot of parents were holding their kids back, which is understandable. Because especially if you're a summer kid, they're always like 18, no matter what. But a lot of them are doing 19. And if they would have graduated at 18, they're fine, but they want to hold them back 1 more year so they can graduate when they're 19. There you go again. I mean, like we said, we go back to it. There's no manual, but at the same time, is that going to give your kid a better advantage? And if he gets a better advantage, won't he look better coming out of school? Because like I told my son, like right now, these kids are getting NIL deals, they're getting their scholarships paid for. If you're 19 and you're just killing people at 19 years old in high school, it looks better. They're not going to say, oh, well, he's just beating him only because he's 19. They're looking at merely stats. And if they're looking at stats, they're like, wow, this dude.
And results.
Yeah.
And
Right?
results. Yeah.
Because in the NIL deals, they don't care how old you are, because the college, they don't care how old you are either. But it's when you get to the pros, they care if you're 2 or 3 years older, if you're a QB or a running back, because that affects your pay scale.
Sure.
Like, I don't want a running back who's 27 years old. He's got 1 year left of his good time. You know what I mean? Like, so a QB coming in at 26, why? When I could have got Mahomes at 21. Wow. You know what I mean? Like, that also is that there's a difference there on how you, when you come out. NIL deals don't care, because they know I got you in your prime. You're gonna making me look good during this time. Pro teams though, so if your kid's gonna play pro in some sport, then that's when you start having that effect of now they're too old. But look, holding them back 1 year is not gonna make a difference.
Yeah.
It's when we've seen parents hold them back for 2-3 years. I think it was South Lake football. The QB had to transfer schools his senior year because he was 19 years old. You can't play.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
So there's one there. We had to go to like a private school in another state where the parents had already lined it up and said, yeah, we're going to transfer him out of, I think it was South Lake.
So that was the plan.
That was the plan the whole time, was we knew he couldn't play at 19 years old. So we had to transfer him out to another school, and now he can play over there to finish up, and then he'll go to college.
That's tough.
I'm not against holding back. I'm not. Now that I've done more research on it, now that I've looked into it a lot more, I think it's very important to realize it's not just for sports. It's academics and maturity level. The humans' brains don't even develop till they're 25, fully develop. So what is the rush to get them there? Why? To go out there and get a job and make money? Like, even if they don't go pro in any sport, what are we doing rushing our kids out there? Let them enjoy this last little bit before they have to work that 9 to 5. Some of them may get stuck in a cubicle the rest of their life. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's another cheat sheet.
It
is because you're right with it. You want to give your kids that the greatest opportunity as they're older.
Absolutely.
And to do that is to let them mature before you throw them out to the wolves all the way across the board. And if you can, like, 2 and 3 years hold back, I think that is a little challenging.
Yeah, it is.
But and I'm not on their side at all, but I'm just playing devil's advocate. If that little joker's winning, his confidence level goes through the roof. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing I think with sports. It's not what you do, it's how you do it, because if you can build the kid's confidence, they're successful across the board. Because I had these talks with my son all the time. His wrestling team went up to Iowa, and my son was like reading the results. Everybody got murdered up there. And then Miles was talking to me about one of the kids that was one of the top kids in school. And he's like, oh, all this stuff, and like hyping this kid up. And I was like, Miles, what do you think why do you think that kid's so much better? Like, that's a serious question I'm asking you. Why do you think that kid's better? That kid wakes up in the morning just like he puts his pants on. Like, the only reason he thinks he's better is because he can think that, because that's what he thinks. He comes out there and says, I'm better than everyone else, because we all have the same moves. We all can do the same conditioning. Of course, some people can work a little bit harder than others, but you see those phenom kids that are taking first place and running through people, they just think different. So I'm trying to get my kid to start thinking different, because if you think different, then everything else kind of falls in place for you.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Hey, we're going to wrap this up. This is the first episode of the Dad Dojo Podcast. Obviously, my buddy Rich Chou, one of the biggest sports agents right now, I think, in the MMA industry, also works with Train Alta. If you guys have an opportunity, check it out. If you guys are just a casual fan of MMA and want to train yourself, you guys can go to Train Alta, take a look. They've got great programs at one of your probably local gyms, and you guys can sign up for that and train like a fighter. And if you guys are really challenging yourself at the very end, they can even give you an option to actually fight against someone of your level. It's just fun, something for you guys to do to really push yourselves and challenge yourselves. WWE wrestler Bobby Lashley, one of our good buddies here. The three of us have been friends for, like I said, about 20 years. And myself, Josh Thompson, most of you guys on this channel know who I am, because we do the Weighing In podcast with my man, Big John McCarthy. Make sure you guys tune in. Hit the subscribe button down below. I want to thank you guys so much. The little bell and the notifications and the thumbs up will get you guys the notifications on when we drop our next show. So we're going to drop several of these and see what your guys' feedback is. So make sure you guys blow us up in the comments and let us know what you guys like, what you don't like, and have any questions. That's also another thing. Drop your questions down there, and we'll try to at least talk about them and topics that you guys would like us to talk about. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this first show of the Dad Dojo Podcast. If you guys are wondering why we don't have shoes on, because you don't walk into a dojo with your shoes on. That's why. No shoes on the mats, and that's what we're doing. We are here to help you guys immerse yourself in some learning about what it's like to be a dad, and hopefully we can give you guys some great tips. So thanks again.